Welcome to What's Your St. John's Story, a 30-minute segment sponsored by St. John's United, highlighting connectivity within our community through storytelling. And today we're talking about At Home. It's a continuation of our conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago with At Home Program Director Sarah Schroefel. And welcome today, Sarah. Tell us a little bit about your role at St. John's, and then tell us a little bit more about the At Home program.
Well, thanks for having me today, Rachel. My role at St. John's United has changed since I've started there over 4 years ago now, which is crazy. But I've always provided the same mission, which is to provide living opportunities within nurturing environments of hope, dignity, and love. And as my role has changed, that's definitely been the biggest aspect of my job. I started at St. John's United as an intern and have worked my way through a few different departments and now oversee the At Home program. And the At Home program, if anybody watched the segment a few weeks ago, they did a great job of detailing what it is. A quick overview of it is we really try to provide services and amenities to older adults in the place they call home, and they get to join our virtual community though, which is really wonderful.
It is a wonderful program, and it really is the wave of the future for older adults, really being served in their own home or the place that they have chosen to call home, because quite honestly, everybody grows a little bit more frail as we age, and we may need more assistance. Some people will make a choice to move to an independent living setting, and others will want to receive services in the home or apartment that they've lived in for years. Some might even choose to receive at-home services for their aging right in their independent living apartment, say at Mission Ridge or Windstone or any other community here in Billings.
Yeah.
And it really is, nobody really wants to go to the next level of care if they can possibly stay at home, right?
Right, those moves are always challenging, even thinking about my grandma right now. She loves Mission Ridge, loves how beautiful it is, but getting her to move ever would be, it'd be so challenging on her, myself, the rest of the family. So if she lived in Billings, I'd have her signed up in a heartbeat for At Home. But it really does allow people to stay home, and it's been amazing to watch the family dynamic change once their parents, grandparents get signed up, because family members get to become more family again instead of having to help out with, the phone updated, technology's not working, I need a ride to a doctor. Families aren't having to take time off of work and out of their lives to do things, where At Home can come in and help really just be there to provide that independence for our older adults.
Changing light bulbs.
Yes.
And adjusting the clocks when the time changes.
Yes.
The daughter, the son, the granddaughter, grandson no longer has to do that.
Exactly.
That's a wonderful service. And I think there are a lot of folks too who don't have close by family, or they've never had children, and then they rely on neighbors, and
Yes.
oftentimes that can be straining on neighborly relationships as well. And so you're able to come in and let them just be neighbors again.
Yes, it's a great journey when a member signs up. There's always about 2 or 3 months where they kind of get used to the program because it is a life change. But after that couple months, we just become part of their family. They're showing us pictures of their grandkids, or maybe their daughter got a new dog and they just can't wait to show us. They're updating us on anything and everything, which is really neat. They really have grown to trust us, and we've just been integrated in their lives because they don't have the family close by, and we've really stepped into those shoes.
Well, we certainly have had good testimonials about the program services itself, but today we're really going to focus on some of the managerial aspects of the program, how to address rural healthcare needs in aging rural communities, talking about managing the program from a staffing perspective. You have worked with local organizations on a summer jobs program for this
Yes.
summer. Tell us how that's gone. Give us some examples of how you integrated people into that program.
Well, I heard about the summer jobs program through Next Gen, which is a group of young professionals here in Billings that's ran through the Billings Chamber. And Bo came to speak. He works at the Career Center for School District 2. And I was so excited to hear about the summer jobs program, because not every person growing up has a mentor they can look up to. You know, maybe they're not put in a position where they have been exposed to healthcare or to construction, but they're interested in it. So I reached out to Bo, and we got connected with a wonderful student for the summer. She's going to be a senior in high school, and she kind of came in curious about healthcare and working with older adults, not sure if that's really what she wanted to pursue. And we really got to give her an encompassing experience this summer. I think she did everything from learn how to cook an artichoke from one of our members to wash windows, to work with older adults and how to socialize, be connected. So it was really interesting to have new eyes on everything too. She helped us with some technology piece and newsletter writing. And our members loved her.
Okay. And was she exposed to the broader St. John's organization as well? Some of the more personal care type lines of dealing with healthcare?
Yes, she got to see a lot of it. And what's wonderful about the Career Center in town is they have the ability to take some classes to pursue that healthcare if she's interested. So we'll see what she decides to do, but it was really fun, and I think it's a great program. We were just lucky to get someone at St. John's through the summer jobs program.
And it's a bit of an informal internship. Mm-hmm. And so what a great experience. And will you want to participate in that again next year?
Yes, I think so. This is the first year that I know of Billings has done the summer jobs program. So I think for everyone it was a bit of a pilot program this summer. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with it, and hopefully get another student in next year.
And it's the beauty of St. John's. We tap into other resources within the community and provide other community entities with opportunities as well. So, well, I'm glad to hear that's gone really well. You have some other new things coming along, Rural Aging Action Networks. Connect the dots for me on what the Rural Aging Action Network is and how At Home is integrating with that.
Of course. So our newest grant that we have right now is to try to get these Rural Aging Action Networks that we're calling RANs up and going in 2 rural areas in Montana, over in Sidney in Richland County, and in Missoula in the Bitterroot Valley area. And Lutheran Services in America, they're really focused right now on trying to create these rural aging action networks to connect older adults to resources. Because a lot of times in these rural communities, you know, there's a pastor who does everything from grocery shop to counsel to, help someone mow their yard, but it might not be known, or he might have access to other volunteers, and the older adults just aren't being connected the way they should. So our objective is to really go into these communities and identify gaps in care and figure out how we can connect older adults to resources. And one of those connections might be to At Home, to keep older adults in the place they call home. So we're really trying to work with community partners and be able to provide people in these very rural areas with services. Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about rural and those 2 communities, Sidney really strikes me as the place that probably has the greatest need. Missoula has access to things, but more in the Bitterroot Valley, they have towns that are disconnected as well. But Sidney is kind of out there in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Sidney reminds me of the town I grew up in Worland, Wyoming. It's very similar. Going there the first time, it was like stepping back into my hometown.
I grew up 60 miles away on the other side of the border.
Okay, yeah.
And it is in the middle of nowhere. And access to healthcare services in rural America is really challenging right now. Finding doctors, first of all, who will come out and serve the communities. Then if you do need a higher level of care as you age, we've seen it in the media this week, how rural nursing homes are struggling to stay vital and sustainable. And so a program like St. John's United at Home can really fill those gaps for people who are still wanting to stay in their own communities. And so Lutheran Services in America is really focusing right now on the upper Midwest and Montana. Is that right?
Yes.
Why those states in particular?
They've really done some research, kind of like what you just said, where they've identified these states and these rural areas where there's just a disconnect from services. Like currently they're working on developing a social determinant of health assessment that will be able to provide and do little workshops in both Sydney and Missoula to continue to identify like where those gaps in care are. And through some previous work they've done the last couple years, you could look up the Rural Voices Project, which is a large project that Lutheran Services in America did. And it was similar to that social determinant of health assessment that I mentioned, but they went out to communities and just identified that out in this area, there is definitely a lack of connection to services, which is causing older adults to move to larger cities, to leave, a family ranch that they've been on for generations, to leave what they know. And that's just, we should be able to connect them to services.
And it really does put pressure on the larger urban areas in our rural states because, in reality, Billings on a metro scale is still pretty rural.
Yeah.
And having pressure coming in from the very rural communities just makes it harder to serve everybody in the mid-sized communities like Billings as well.
Exactly. And something we've really talked about in our grant as well is what the older adults can give back to the community. A lot of times people just think, like, what services can we connect to older adults? Like, Meals on Wheels, food banks, social events. But those older adults in the community, they give back so much as well. Like, they're just full of knowledge, skill, and as they leave rural areas to move to, more urban areas where they can access services, the community loses vital assets that have been there forever. I think everyone knows that person at church or they see at events who's been here forever and can tell stories and knows what's going on just due to the fact they've been here forever. And we don't want to lose those gems, in the rural areas.
Yeah, you lose your storytellers.
Yeah.
Well, and perhaps your pilot program with the summer jobs program can be taken out on the rural plains as well, because intergenerational opportunities get lost when the older generation moves to town, as they say. So, yeah, well, great. That's just an amazing program. What do you need to do to get those two offices up and running?
So we've been doing a lot of foundation work this summer. We do have jobs posted in both Sydney and Missoula for program leads and for service coordinators. You guys met Summer, who was here a few weeks ago, and she's incredible. So we're looking for people who are willing to really go out and get things done, change that light bulb, maybe schedule an appointment, transport somebody. It's a very fun job and you're moving all the time, which is exciting. We're also really looking for community partners. So we're trying to reach out to the community for maybe some more of those non-traditional partners, such as the post office and the police department, fire department, people who might get calls or notice things at older adults' homes. If someone hasn't picked up their mail in 5 days, maybe something's wrong, maybe that deserves a phone call in to see, what's going on. So we're trying to educate and bring in as many local partners as we can to really make this Rural Aging Action Network just full of resources for older adults.
Well, they say it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a village to live your life,
yes.
Truly. The arc of life, from birth to death, we need our village. And so that's really interesting that you're reaching out to non-traditional sources. If somebody wants to be considered for a position with At Home, either in Sydney or Missoula, you've got the service coordinator, which is really the doer, the daughter on call, the son on call.
Yes.
What else? A program over.
Yeah, program lead, like a manager who's
like yourself.
Going to be overseeing the program. They'll be the ones directly reaching out to those community partners, hosting events. We're really hoping to put on some workshops. Recently, I just went through a TIPA snow certification, so We're going to be providing those to our staff and some chosen partners in communities.
We're going to come back and define what that is in just a minute. How about things like yard and lawn and home maintenance? Are you looking for those positions as well?
We're really hoping that in the rural communities we'll be able to utilize maybe volunteer groups or, we don't want to duplicate service. That's a huge thing that we're making sure to be aware of. We don't want to come into a community and say we have all these amazing things, but they already have those. So we're really trying to identify, does Sydney have a very active group of people who are out maintaining yards and doing home maintenance, and how can we partner with them to utilize services for our older adults?
Okay. And the ultimate chicken or egg question, what do you need first? Employees and staff or at-home members?
We're really looking for those employees. We really want people who just love their community and want to give back and be out there actively pursuing partners and just sharing what resources are in the community. So we're really looking for that staff piece first.
All right, so we are sitting here in Billings, and most of the people who are watching this are within the Billings community, but you in the Billings community, you know people who would love to go back out to Sydney, or who live in Sydney right now, or who live in Missoula right now. Get your little networks going, and there's an amazing opportunity to provide living opportunities within nurturing environments of hope, dignity, and love, which means somebody's own home in the two corners of our state, western borders. So let's come back a little bit to, you mentioned this, it was an acronym, and I didn't quite catch the acronym, but I'd like you to tell us what that is, the dementia training, and how does that integrate with your work at home?
So within At Home, we really realized that, as we all know, dementia is very common in older adults now, and it's statistically only going to get worse over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And people in their homes, a lot of times, were physically able to stay home. They can still function really well, but cognitively beginning to have some brain change and needing reminders and cueing. And we noticed that a lot. And I really wanted to educate myself and be able to educate the staff that work with these older adults on a day-to-day basis. So we reached out to one of our resources in town who recommended a TIPA Snow certification.
And what does that stand for, TIPA?
So TIPA Snow is an incredible woman. She is...
That's a person.
It's a person.
Okay.
She's amazing. She is one of the best educators I've ever got a chance to learn from. If you don't know who it is, I highly recommend you Google TIPA Snow and just watch one of her videos. She's probably the best public speaker I've ever listened to, and she has a huge passion for teaching people how to work with older adults, specifically those who are going through a brain change. And myself and one other staff from St. John's United, we got to go get certified in 2 different trainings. I'm a certified trainer, so I'll be able to put on workshops for our staff, for community partners, and be able to educate on how to work with older adults, how to engage, how to properly maybe de-escalate a situation, how to really put yourself in the shoes of someone who is going through that brain change.
Well, and last week I had the opportunity to witness this in real life. You had a luncheon for your at-home members, and afterwards they were offered dessert, and they were offered 2 different flavors of ice cream and 2 different flavors of topping. And the 3 women who have difficulty with cognitive issues were completely flummoxed about the choice. But when you could slow it down and say, do you want chocolate or vanilla? And then, once you've chosen your ice cream, would you like chocolate or caramel? Just to slow things down a little bit and allow for some extra processing time was just a very eye-opening moment for me. And that's the type of thing that you're talking about with this dementia training, right?
Yes, yes. One of the things we learn about is TIPA Snow's gems and different stages of that brain function, how even myself, I can go from being extremely clear and focused to being very all over the place, if I'm stressed out, anxious. So she really walks through those, and when you have brain change going on, it's just heightened. So when you're in a group of large people like we were last week, and there's different things going on, it's really, their view gets smaller.
Too much stimulation, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And those are things we don't think about, especially if you're not around that group of older adults very often. It's definitely, you can get just talking and conversating without thinking, oh, this person needs me to slow down and to use hand motions and 2 options instead of 4.
Right. So this really is an added bonus to the at-home program. It just elevates the value proposition for the at-home member themselves, for the family members, knowing that it's more than just changing light bulbs.
Yes, and we are all so passionate about it. All my staff have asked, if there was more training available to them, because we're all just very curious. We want to be able to provide the best service, and as we've gone through different scenarios, we've been really good about reaching out for education, whether that be nutrition or this dementia care. We're all really trying to provide the best service we can and love to continue to learn.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to switch a little bit over to just St. John's United in general. You've been with the St. John's for 4 years now. And what do you think is really the uniqueness of St. John's? Are there elements that you can pinpoint that make it a special place for you?
I think what makes St. John's United one of the most special places is how innovative we are. I've got an opportunity to go to a few different conferences and talk to people from other communities, and I'll just mention little things St. John's does, like the lab we created, or that we do adoptions, and people's eyes just light up, and they're like, well, you do what?
Yeah, they don't really expect, because most people think of us as an organization that cares for older adults, but really it's soup to nuts, again, that arc of life.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if I were to just run into you on the street, I ask this of everybody who comes and sits where you're sitting, what would you, and I asked you the question, what is your St. John's story? How would you respond? What would you say?
My St. John's United story is continually changing, which is exciting. I would say St. John's United is really a beacon of light in the community, and people tend to gravitate toward it when they are needing something, whether that be adoption, mental health, a place for their parents, a place for themselves, with whatever that might be. I think the greatest story St. John's has is, there's a fit for everyone. Like, everyone can relate to it, and myself included. Throughout my 4 years here, I've needed different things. I've gone through different life changes, different role changes, and St. John's has always been there for me as that beacon, which has been amazing.
That's fantastic. So a beacon of services, and then a beacon for employment.
Yes.
To provide those services.
100%. It has been, I can't imagine working anywhere else. The incredible leadership staff, the trainings, and then just having purpose. Like, every day you can wake up and know, I'm going to go grocery shopping today, or I'm going to, go change someone's light bulbs. But it's so meaningful when an older adult looks you in the eyes and says, you made my day.
Yeah. Like,
you are the only person I will see today, and you are incredible. I don't know what I'd do without you.
Making a difference for people every day.
It's incredible.
It sure is. Well, tell us once again, if somebody is wanting to be part of that, making a difference in the lives of others, what is the best way for them to connect with you about the at-home program, whether as a prospective member or as a prospective staff member?
So you can always reach out to me. My phone number is 406-655-7730. You can also email me. I am more responsive via email. So on the screen at some point, my name should have popped up, Sarah Schroefel. My email address is sschroefel@sjlm.org.
All right.
And you can also find the job postings on the St. John's United website.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Sarah, for being here and telling us more about the at-home program and its expansion throughout the state, and a little bit more about its value proposition for employees and for people who would find the services useful. So that has been another segment of St. John's United, What's Your St. John's Story? Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.